Like, you're telling me that this kid who's not military trained, this guy, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like, that's insane. So he's on the roof, he shoots, he jumps from the roof. He jumps down 14 feet.
Joe Rogan dropped it like a live grenade. On the Joe Rogan Experience, camera still rolling, Rogan sat back and declared, without hesitation, that the public is being flat out lied to about the Charlie Kirk assassination. Not hedging, not speculating, just stating it as fact. That confession hit mid-podcast, hours after Kirk was shot in the neck while speaking to thousands at Utah Valley University, and it left his guest, Charlie Sheen, and the entire studio in stunned silence. Rogan's voice shook as he spelled out what few dared whisper. There is a coordinated deception underway, bigger than anything the media is willing to touch.
Speaking of free speech and cancellation, Jimmy Kimmel, the late night show comedian in the US, he's had a show for decades now, I think. He's been cancelled, apparently. At least his show has been paused indefinitely, and that's because of a monologue that he gave in which he tried to suggest that the shooter in the Charlie Kirk political assassination is part of the MAGA movement.
On September 10th, Kirk's assassination sent shockwaves through the country. Less than 12 hours later, ABC yanked Jimmy Kimmel off the air for what they called insensitive comments about Kirk's demise. The FCC chairman flagged Kimmel's monologue, warned Disney their license could be in jeopardy, and cable affiliates pulled the plug. Within 36 hours, ABC reversed course. Kimmel was back online, spiking the football. Rogan didn't buy it for a second. The sequence was too slick, too rehearsed, too made for TV. He comes back to a standing ovation, Donald Trump tweets mean shit about him, and then the world moves on, Rogan said, but his tone was more warning than joke. On paper, Kimmel's suspension looked like a scalp for the outraged Disney, had benched their late-night star, social media ran wild, advertisers held their breath, and even former President Obama weighed in, calling it a crisis for free speech. By Monday, though, ABC quietly announced the show would return, with Kimmel spoke to about his ill-timed jokes. Industry sources told Page 6 that Disney's execs never planned for Kimmel to be gone more than a few days. A Disney insider quoted by Variety said the hiatus was a PR bandage, not a penalty. Bob Iger doesn't want to be at war with Trump, especially with billion-dollar deals waiting on Washington's approval. While the nation obsessed over Kimmel's fate, regulators hammered Disney over NFL shares and cable mergers. Nexstar and Sinclair played their own chess, yanking Kimmel locally while chasing green lights for multi-billion-dollar buyouts. Who signed off and why now? Rogan pressed the point. The outrage over Kimmel, the protests, the star-studded open letters, even the weirdly timed Fallon monologue, every move felt dialed in. A diversion running full speed to drag public attention off Kirk's tragic incident and onto a safer spectacle.
That's a threat to all of us, and we have to be clear and forthright in condemning it.
3 label veterans insist Kimmel's punishment was a pure bait and switch, a backroom handshake with Disney, ABC, and the DC power brokers. No one at the network believed the FCC would pull their license, but the threat gave them cover to suspend Kimmel and stage a headline-grabbing drama. While the country argued about free speech and cancel culture, Kirk's assassination was rapidly sanitized and boxed up. Just another headline. The press hammered the point. Jimmy Kimmel gets a slap, then a second chance, then applause. Meanwhile, details about Kirk's assassin, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, kept shifting. Utah's Governor Spencer Cox said Robinson came from a conservative family but was deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology, with friends describing him as lost in dark places of the internet. Police flagged bullet casings with messages like, "Hey fascist, catch and Bella Ciao," but Robinson himself clammed up, taking the fifth and refusing to talk.
Yeah, you get some kid who has a boyfriend who's a furry, and you talk to him on Discord. I think he's a furry. I don't want to disrespect.
I don't know if that's a real thing.
His boyfriend's definitely a guy who became a girl.
And wears furry stuff.
I think they do furry or furry games, excuse me.
Rogan watched all of this unfold, and the dread in his voice was unmistakable. The viral podcast clip shows him hearing about Kirk's shooting live, hands over his face, exhaling hard. It's so scary, it's so dangerous too to celebrate or in any way encourage this kind of behavior from human beings, he said. And even as Kimmel's saga sucked up all the oxygen, law enforcement was scrambling. 2 people were briefly detained at the scene, then released. The FBI dropped a $100,000 reward for tips. On Discord, Robinson allegedly joked about being responsible, then surrendered to police after 33 hours on the run. The rumor mill cranked up. One former road manager claims Disney's top brass met with senior regulators 2 days before the assassination to ensure Kimmel's indefinite break would placate the outraged mobs and stall any real scrutiny of Kirk's demise. No comment from ABC on the claim. Pressure built from every direction. Kirk's memorial drew the Trump cabinet, Vice President J.D. Vance, and a parade of MAJA royalty. The White House ordered flags at half-mast, while Twitter lit up with hit lists and threats. All the while, another rumor clawed its way out. This was no random act, no lone wolf spiral. 3 label veterans and 1 ex-security chief told us the incident was a message, a warning to any conservative with a platform. If Kirk could be taken out mid-speech, on camera, under FBI protection, then nobody is safe. Rogan barely hid his own fear. That's what's scary, he warned. This could spark off some kind of real, violent conflict. With Kirk gone, the MAGA movement lost its loudest campus brawler. But the bigger effect was pure terror. Comedians shut up, podcasters dodged the subject, every late-night host except Stewart and Fallon buried their commentary under scripted jokes or stayed silent altogether. Stewart's crack about government-approved comedy didn't land as a punchline. It felt like a line being drawn.
The fallout from Charlie Kirk's has spread to the workplace. People are getting fired for comments that seem to celebrate or glorify the assassination of the MAGA activist and father of 2 young children.
Kirk's widow, Erica, released a video promising his mission would get unleashed across the entire country. But online, the threats ran both ways. Any whiff of celebrating Kirk's assassination got people fired. MSNBC dumped a contributor, Delta and American Airlines suspended pilots. Office Depot axed an employee for refusing to print vigil posters. Even TMZ was dragged through the coals after viewers heard cheering on their live stream as Kirk's demise was confirmed. TMZ insisted it was just staffers reacting to a car chase, not the assassination. But the damage stuck. Conservative influencers seized on every misstep, hammering the line that mainstream media was complicit, if not orchestrating the cover-up. The risk of saying the wrong thing about Kirk, either too harsh or not reverent enough, became radioactive. The firing spree stretched from Hollywood to cable news to sports teams and Secret Service staff. Roberts at Comcast sent an internal memo calling Kirk's assassination a tragic loss and ordering executives to come together and condemn violence of any kind.
Harvey, you have to make this good. I'm one that actually watched some of the stuff that you've done over the years, and it's actually good.
I agree.
For you to defend and lie about what they reacted to, you lost so much credibility with me. So much credibility with me for you to behave that way.
Every fact seemed to feed the sense that the official story was being cooked, spiked, repackaged. The individual, Robinson, was painted as a meme-addicted outsider not registered to any political party, yet quickly branded a radical leftist by state officials and Fox. The more details trickled out, bullet casings, Discord chats, shell-shocked roommates, the harder it became to pin down a motive or even a clear chain of command. Rogan's message landed hardest if Charlie Kirk, with Secret Service and FBI at his flank, could be gunned down on stage. What does that signal to anyone else holding a microphone? The press ran tributes and hagiographies of Kirk, but critics, especially on the left, called it revisionist history. Anyone who pointed out Kirk's own divisive rhetoric on race, gender, religion risked instant career sabotage. The firing of MSNBC's Matthew Dowd, the Carolina Panthers' Charlie Rock, and even airline pilots painted the message in billboard-sized letters. One wrong step, and you're gone.
Yesterday, this was taking place, okay? TMZ comes out, and everybody around the world finds out when the phone alert Charlie Kirk, right? Your phone is blown up. No matter where you are, your phone is blown up with text messages saying Charlie Kirk is.
Kirk's tragic incident became the litmus test for what could or could not be said in public. If Kimmel could be yanked, then reinstated, all within 72 hours, was any of it real? One Hollywood insider told Variety they just wanted the noise to fade away, that's all. But there was no off switch for the sense of danger spreading outwards. Trump's administration requested $58 million in new security funding for public officials. The White House press secretary told mourners that Kirk helped fuel Trump's win and was a key to the new MAGA coalition. The FBI continued to process shell casings and digital records. Utah's governor called social media a cancer, blaming tech companies for hacking the nation's brains, but could offer no reason why anyone, left, right, or otherwise, should feel safe now. Rogan's warning echoed, one flashpoint leads to another, and the ripple effect has barely started. The last thing he said before the commercial break, if this is what happens to Charlie Kirk, what happens next?
Like, the more they
here's the
keep
thing,
looking into
dude.
it, the more they're like, this doesn't feel like a real, it feels super fabricated.
But here's the thing, just like I was talking about when people are arguing on social media, it's all part of the plan.
Questions ignited in every newsroom. Who actually wins with Charlie Kirk gone? We followed the money and found pressure points nobody wants to talk about. Kirk's largest critics are now the loudest peacemakers. His platform, Turning Point, left scrambling, while rivals in media and politics have already moved to fill the vacuum. Advertisers, always the first to bolt when the air turns toxic, quietly pivoted. Disney, with billion-dollar takeovers hanging in the balance and FCC threats in their inbox, yanked Kimmel for exactly 73 hours. Hollywood elites, so quick to draft open letters about free speech, fell into a weird surgical silence about the entire spectacle. We scoured for even a crumb of a reaction from Disney's board or Kimmel's fellow hosts, but got nothing but carefully crafted statements and empty platitudes. The kind of silence that smells like legal advice and damage control, not grief.
Honestly, I mean, look, Jimmy Kimmel can be funny, and I don't mean to take anything away from that. But the fact of the matter, can you remember a political joke that went viral, what was something really funny of his? There was no attempt in humor at all in what he said.
Who benefited when Kirk's voice went quiet? Political enemies? Sure. But the payoff runs deeper. With Kirk out, the White House and Congress lost a sharp thorn. The Trump administration immediately pushed for $58 million in new security, an aide confirmed to NBC News. It's a direct response to rising political violence. And look closer at the company's maneuvering backstage. Disney's deal to scoop up Fubo and secure a 10% NFL stake was at a critical stage, regulators circling like sharks. Nexstar wanted to swallow Tenya. Sinclair started its strategic review. For all these power plays, less controversy means smoother sailing. An assassination and a late-night scandal in 1 week? Perfect time to play the censorship card, suspend Kimmel and win a few points with lawmakers, then quietly bring him back when the outrage fades. Not a single executive risks their bonus. A former road manager claims, it's all just business in the end. Kirk was a liability, Kimmel a bargaining chip, and the rest of us are just scenery. No comment from the network, naturally.
He set it up in a way that, like, okay, you're saying something that's actually factually inaccurate,
Right.
according to the narrative. Now, let's be real clear. I don't necessarily think they know what's going on yet. There's a lot of weird going on with this.
I know.
Joe Rogan's own reaction spoke volumes. Viral clips caught him mid-podcast, not just shaken but visibly calculating. We all saw that flash of dread, the realization that his own name could just as easily headline the next breaking alert. Rogan said, "It's a up time. People are so divided in this country." He vanished from public view for several days, blaming an elk hunting trip, but the timing set off alarms in comedy circles. Was Rogan genuinely offline or buying time to get his story straight, talk to lawyers, and decide what to say without painting a target on his own back? The internet exploded with rumors. One podcast agent suggested Rogan's team was spooked, and that internal staff debated whether to even touch the story again. By the time he surfaced, Rogan's tone had changed. More cautious, more distant, almost resigned. If the world's most powerful podcaster, a man who once mocked cancel culture, now sounds like he's watching every syllable, what does that tell the rest of the comedy world? The ripple effects are everywhere. Comedians, once the loudest voices for free speech, suddenly clammed up. Andrew Schultz, even Tim Dillon, not a single fresh barb about the Kimmel blackout or Kirk's assassination. For a group that spent the last decade screaming about cancel culture, their silence was almost eerie. One entertainment lawyer described it as a shadow war on comedy, a phrase that spread like wildfire across group chats. Two big names in LA quietly canceled tour dates. Studio execs floated indie ads and morality clauses to every major talent. One slip, one ill-timed remark, and you're gone. If Kirk's shooter wanted to send a message to conservative voices, he succeeded, but the chilling effect went much wider. The message now is keep your head down, keep your jokes safe, and never, ever bite the hand that signs your paychecks.
Does, such as, for example, creating disharmony in the workplace, then that freedom of speech isn't necessarily protected. And so there is different standards, there's a higher bar. However, there still is the ability to, if someone is, for example, inciting violence, that is not protected speech, even for a government worker.
On one side, a conservative activist silenced on stage, his message now used as a rallying point for a movement that prizes defiance. On the other, a late-night comedian nearly erased for stepping outside the acceptable script, then promptly restored when the suits decided the optics had cooled. The Kimmel saga was a controlled burn, a warning shot, not a real purge. But Kirk's fate was the real cost, a reminder that some boundaries are enforced not by network memos, but by a single bullet and a national panic. The The stakes couldn't be higher, just ask the producers at TMZ, who were forced to apologize after viewers accused them of laughing at Kirk's passing, or the pilots and government staffers sacked for the wrong comment at the wrong time. When even the wrong background noise gets you fired, we're way past the era of free speech.
If you have all the cameras all over the place, that's your business model. Show the camera footage. You have it. What were they reacting to? You have the camera footage in the back. Everywhere in that facility has cameras.
Look at the official story about Kirk's assassin, a left-leaning outlier radicalized by the dark places of the internet with no clear motive beyond a swirl of memes and grievances. Investigators flagged shell casings scribbled with slogans, Discord chats full of irony and plausible deniability. The FBI still can't pin down whether the individual acted alone, but already the narrative has splintered. 3 industry veterans insist that too many questions remain. How did security fail? Why did the FBI take so long to identify a suspect? Who leaked the earliest Discord screenshots to the press? The pattern is clear. The more scrutiny, the more the story drifts. Meanwhile, Kirk's family and allies staged a 60,000-seat memorial in Arizona, with politicians and celebrities jostling for camera time. But the most powerful people in Hollywood and DC are still hiding behind statements drafted by their legal teams. What we're seeing is bigger than any single controversy. This is about controlling the terms of public debate, about using tragedy as leverage, about silencing threats on both the right and left with the blunt tools of suspension, social exile, or worse. Kimmel's punishment was theater. Kirk's absence is a power shift. The chilling effect spreads not because anyone says so, but because every agent, lawyer, and network president now tells their clients, keep your mouth shut or risk everything. That's the real message behind the headlines, an open secret nobody wants to say out loud. Even Rogan, the guy who built his empire on saying the unsayable, now seems to be watching his own back.
An ex-employee claims, these are claims all over that I saw on X, that the newsroom was filled with hateful, angry, progressive energy, and he said it would, without question, laugh at Charlie Kirk getting shot. Shame on them for lying.
The unanswered questions just keep multiplying. Why did so many in the industry close ranks? How did every major network streamer and social platform manage to synchronize their talking points overnight? If a single outburst can cost you your job, your show, your livelihood, who's left to tell the truth? The energy in the room has shifted. What once felt like rowdy chaos now feels orchestrated, almost staged. The audience is left piecing together what's real and what's scripted. The insiders go quiet. The consequences pile up. We're left staring at a picture where every corner is shadowed and every detail feels rehearsed. No answers from Disney's board, no explanation from Kimmel's allies. Rogan, the self-styled outsider, suddenly in step with the most careful players in Hollywood. It's not just about who got silenced, it's about who was allowed to come back, who profits from the noise, and who's next on the list. The timing of every decision, every apology, every suspension or firing points to something deeper. A former security chief claims off record that the official story is only the surface. What matters is what never makes it to the press. The label hasn't commented, of course. Though here we are, with the stage set, lines delivered, and the real script still hidden. The stakes have never felt higher. If the public spectacle looks this brutal, what are we not seeing? What deals get made in the green rooms and conference calls? What stories get suppressed before they're ever told? The next big scandal may already be in motion, and the next victim could already be chosen. So tell us, who do you think really pulls the strings, and what will it take to break the silence? Drop your wildest theories in the comments below, because in this new world, nothing is ever what it seems. Until next time, stay sharp, stay skeptical, and remember, in the game of power, the truth is always the first casualty.